Welcome, 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 welcome to Recovery Live Global. This is another opportunity that we can do a segment. We are here. I am your host, Jesse Washington, and I welcome you today. I was going back looking at our mission, and it's to educate, inspire, and provide recovery resources to the community. The program started back March 31st in 2020 when uh, the pandemic hit and we was not able to meet person to person, so we went global and we went live. I thank our engineer for working the background and getting us on this type of a platform that we could get information out to the community. When I think about the goal is to provide resources to the community. And we have with us today a new friend. Well, not a new friend, but a friend of mine, Ciera Hardaway. And we've been working close together as we look at the community and try to assist those that's coming back into the community with resources and assisting them. I believe that when you got resources, you can do things just a whole lot better. So I'd like to introduce to you today Miss Ciera Hardaway, and I'm going to ask her if she would just introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions about where we're going from here and what can we do to assist the community.
Okay. I hate this part.
You hate this part?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, talk about yourself. My name is Ciera Hardaway. But you know, my street name, they call me Ciera Renee.
Okay. Ciera Renee, okay.
That's that's just what my branding name is as far as like the therapeutic services that I provide with the business and all of that. I'm a clinical psychologist, so I provide faith-based psychological services out of a private practice in Westland, Michigan. I also do reentry services for the Department of Corrections as well.
Okay.
I'm just a servant. I'm just a servant. I'm a graduate from Moody Theological Seminary, so I studied the psychology through a biblical lens. And so I just try my best to integrate theology and psychology into the community where I feel like it's going to be impactful. My mission is to destigmatize, particularly within the African American Christian community, mental health.
Wow, that's a lot. That said a lot, and I like what you said because you was talking about the clinical side and the faith side,
Yeah.
and a lot of times people wrestle with the clinical and the faith, and you got a lot of people that's faith based or all faith, and then you got a lot of people that's all clinical, and it seems like they can't mix it together. And I like that because somebody got to know both sides, the clinical and the faith, and then mix that thing together because I believe in both. I believe in faith plus. And when I say faith plus, I'm talking about I have faith in God, yes, but I still have a primary care physician
There you go.
that I go to and make sure that my body side
There you
is
go.
is saved as well as my spiritual side is saved. So it worked on both sides. And when you think about it, you say that your mission was to help and guide and make resources available to the African, primarily the African American generation to assist them with this thing. And then you said mental health. And
Yeah.
mental health is, I like that new term, mental health, instead of mental illness.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was a time it was called mental illness. Today, we're saying mental health, and it's because of the stigmatism that was associated with just the language
Yeah.
itself. It had a stigma like mental illness, and when you say illness, automatically you talking negative to a situation. But when you say mental health, and that's more user friendly to the people that's struggling in that area, and they need psychological help sometimes, medication, sometimes faith, and to intertwine that all together, I think we'll get good results or better results when you intertwine it like that. So How you say you have a private practice too that you're working with?
I do.
How do that work? How's that working?
So I have a private practice in Westland, Michigan. So I have 3 office suites where I actually have a couple coworkers that work alongside me on we have the same vision as far as like what we would like to do with our practices.
Hmm.
We were in person, and then when the pandemic hit, we went virtual, but we still offer both in person visits as well too.
Hmm.
So we just come in, we do individuals, groups, couples, families, whatever the case may need to be, just people who are wanting to be assistants with this walk of life.
Okay. Yes, it's interesting, and sometimes there's stigmatism as it relate to saying raising my hand and say I need assistance in this area because of the stigma associated with mental health, substance use disorders, and the penal systems. Because of the stigma, people don't want to raise their hand, but we have to break down some of those walls and let people know that it's I mean, ain't nothing wrong with getting some help for yourself. Ain't nothing wrong with getting tapping into the resources for yourself,
Not at
and
all.
then moving the stigma as it relate to it is what we really trying to do. It's hard for a person to say I got a mental health concern or I got a SUD or substance use concern or I have a background of criminology, which now have stigmatized me as a person that coming back into the community look at them different.
Yeah.
So there was a term that changed. We call them new citizens
Yeah.
rather than ex-offenders,
That
and
return.
that's
Yeah.
and that returning citizens, and that help us out a lot. And a lot of times you find out that people that's coming from the penal system is intelligent and smart and have a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
skills and able to do a lot of things given the opportunity and the chances. And so we work with helping them get expungements. We work with helping them get housing. Work with helping them get employment, food stamps, medical coverages, family reunification. It's just so many areas that they
Hmm.
need. And I'm noticing that a lot of individuals just coming through the penal system, when they first come home, they feel they got it together and they know what's going on. And I just say, hold on, hold
Yeah.
on. Out here in the real community, it's a little bit different than it is inside or incarceration. And so I try to get them to at least open themselves up to some supports out here.
Hmm.
And it's just so valuable. It's so valuable. But I'm a man. I'm proud. I mean, I'm so glad to have you, man.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to
So
be
glad to
here.
have you.
Yeah.
Talk to us. I mean, what up? What else? I mean, how did you get into this field?
God.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
I enrolled at Moody and not in the counseling program. I enrolled in Moody in the biblical studies program
Okay.
because I wasn't like a babe in the faith, but more so like maybe like a little adolescent in the
Okay.
faith, and I wanted to understand the Bible like deeper. So I enrolled in like the biblical studies program, and being a part of that environment, I was exposed to what was going on at the school, and they were talking about the counseling program that was going to be there, and I just like sat in and got an understanding about what it was, and I really prayed and thought about it, and I was like, this could actually work. So my undergrad is in business management. So it was like a complete shift, right? It
Okay.
was a
Okay.
total like change for me going into from business to psychology. So I was kind of a little bit at a disadvantage to some of my like cohorts because they had either some type of social psychology or, a psychology bachelor's degree. I remember sitting in class like, who are they talking about? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Um, but I really think it was part of the purpose and path that God wanted to put me on.
Mhm.
And my friend, I have a one friend. She would always call me her friendapist, and that to this day, that's my tagline, the friendapist, because I really believe that like rapport is something that's super important to the therapeutic process.
Okay.
So I just kind of learned my way about how being like authentically myself and what I bring to the table uniquely as Ciera. And it was a little bit of a struggle trying to figure that part out, but because of what we're taught, you're taught to keep certain images as like the therapist or the counselor. You're taught to keep a neutral affect, or you don't just say certain things or do certain things in those type settings. And it just didn't sit right with me. I said, listen, if God can call me friend, I'm no higher than him, so I can call my clients, like, we can have a friendship, but keeping ethical boundaries, So I just became like, I just pushed through, and I think that was actually a game changer, just for the relationships that I have with my clientele, the work that we were able to do, because I was able to just authentically show up as myself. And I just appreciated that version of me is pretty much what they needed in order to really have this relationship work, right? So me and my clients, like, we have a really good therapeutic relationship. I'm really invested into them being elevated to the best version of themselves. And how I started working at the prison, it was just, I don't know, I was applying for jobs, and one day this lady called me and asked me for like all kind of personal information. She was like, I need your social security number, your driver's license number. And I was like, wait, who is this? Like, what? It's too much fraud and things going on to just provide somebody with this information. And so I did a little bit of research, and I was like, I didn't apply for this job. I don't know why. And to be quite honest, my testimony is I had a real bad taste in my mouth about people who were in prison, because I grew up with a father who was in and out of prison. And I had a bad attitude. I was just like, people shouldn't go to prison. It's wrong. You make bad choices, and that's what they get. I had such a bad, nasty attitude. Like, no kidding. And when I started working there, it was just a total shifting, just understanding different people's stories and having to help people who were in those situations who I once kind of like turned my nose up to. It was just God's way of like showing me, like, listen, who you think you are?
Yeah, but for the grace.
But for the grace, like, who do you think you are? And like, you have a purpose in this place. And honestly, like, I was going through a divorce at the time when I first started working at this job. And I literally asked God for a dollar amount. I asked God for a dollar amount. I said, God, this is how much money I need to make in order to sustain myself as a single, right? Mm-hmm. He gave me $3 more than that. And I said, this got to be it. This got to be it. Yeah. And it worked with my schedule. It required a master's degree, but at the moment I hadn't graduated yet, but they took me anyway. They was like, you gonna graduate? And I was like, yeah. Okay. Lord willing, I will. That's the plan. And they say, okay, well, we want you. We gonna go ahead and hire you on a contingent basis based on me graduating. And so, hey, I was making the highest amount of money I had ever made. Fresh out the gate, I was just like, oh yeah, order my steps, Lord, order my steps. And it's been like an amazing experience ever since then. Like, so many connections, so many networking opportunities, just so much impact, and just things that not just. I see the good work in there, but it's also changed me as an individual, just how I feel, what I think, the work that I want to do, where I want it to go. It's been like impactful, life-changing.
Yeah. Have they ever asked you, well, wait a minute, how are you going to help me? And you never experienced some of the things that I experienced. Have you ran into that a little?
No, because I cut them off before they get there.
Uh-oh.
I cut them off before they get there. I let them know that I'm not here to say that I can relate to you.
Okay.
That's not why I'm here. I'm not here to say I relate to you. I have knowledge, I have information, I have tools, and I really believe that if we can work together to get you to where you want to go.
Okay.
So I've always thought about that too. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But so I always cut them off before they, like, that's a part of my spiel. Like, in the introductory session with me, it's like, listen, I'm not saying that I can empathize. I can sympathize, but I can't empathize with you. I've never wore blue and orange.
Okay.
I got arrested one time, but it was just an in and out situation. Yeah. So I cut them off right there and let them, I kind of manage the expectations of what I am. And I think that also kind of helps break down some of those barriers that they have, because unfortunately there are some people who are just working a job, you know, and they're kind of callous to the system because they've been, they might experience a lot of difficulties, right? And that was one of the things that I asked God for. It was like, help me to not be callous. I I don't want to say some of the things that I hear, like, oh, they'll be back or I'll see you later. Like, I want to keep that hope that this time is the last time. This
Okay.
is going to be the moment that is going to be impactful in their life. Because I think that that really helps to keep the morale. And I think when somebody feels like you have hope in them, I think they feed off that.
And
That's
they
very motivational for
and
them.
and they do better too.
And they do better. They
And
feel
they
like
do
they
better
really have a supporter
just
and
knowing
not
that.
somebody who's just punching a clock.
Okay. Yeah, that's yeah, it's really supportive when you do that and
Yeah.
you have people like that. A lot of individuals, you say you cut them right off at the path. That's a good process because a lot of clinicians and different therapists and counselors uh, run into barriers when it comes to relating with people
Yeah.
and that population. And sometimes it can be a turnoff
Yeah.
because they say, if you ain't never done it, how can you help me? And that can be kind of like a turnoff sometimes because people can see through you.
Oh yeah.
You know, they can see the sincerity in your heart. They can see right through you.
Mhm.
They know if you there to help them or if you just like you say, punching the clock. People know that,
Yeah, they
and
do.
when they feel that, it causes barriers in their processes of growth and things like that. So
Mhm.
it's just good. We're gonna pause now for a station break,
Okay.
and we'll be back in just a minute.
All right. I'll be here.
Well, you might be out there and you want to support the Recovery Live Global efforts, you can do so by purchasing one of our Recovery Live Global t-shirts. So I'm wearing one. If you look at it, it's here. We're moved into merchandise. So you can call us at 313-694-2140. That's 313-694-2140. And just say, hey, I want to support the ministry. I want to support Recovery Live Global by purchasing one of our Recovery Live Global t-shirts. And I had shared with those, if you live in the metropolitan area and you want a t-shirt, I'll deliver it. I'll deliver it myself. There's no cost for deliverance. So call us and purchase your Recovery Live Global t-shirt in support of the Recovery Live Global show. So support us. It'll be a good thing. Well, we're back. I am your host, Jesse Washington Jr., and I have with me today Ciera Hardaway. And we've been talking about the community, educating the community. We've been talking about providing resources to the community. We've been talking about inspiring the community, and we need all of that. Right now, it's a terrible taste in our mouths as it relate to the community. They flashed a news flash that they seen a guy walking in my neighborhood with an assault rifle,
Oh
and this was
my.
yesterday. And I was saying, what a news flash in my neighborhood, assault rifle. So I'm thinking, I was talking to my wife. I was saying, man, it's and I had just heard the things about the schools and different things going on, and it just put me in a in a personal consciousness to think about, what's really going on,
Yeah.
because things can happen so fast. So we have to educate one another, inspire one another, inform one another. How can we make things better? So the question is now, what can we do to make things better, and what can we do to cause what we do to reach the people? And so this virtual platform is global. You got people that's watching from Kuwait. You got people that's watching from the the other states and things like that. And I like that because it's global. I was in the basement of a church doing recovery services for years and years and years. And this platform have afforded us to just reach out. This camera is something else. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just something else to just sit here and then reach out globally
Yeah.
and tell people about what's going on and what we're doing and what can we do to help. And the message that you just shared with us is really a global message because it not only work in Wayne County, but it could
Mm-hmm.
work in Oakland County. It could work in Washington County. It could work in New York and Mississippi and Georgia, and it could work cross overseas.
Yeah.
And this ministry is going there like that. Our engineer got us. It's just amazing
Mm-hmm.
what God is doing on a platform like this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just amazing what He's doing. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our listening audience as you think about them? You got a child that's at home and mom and daddy is asleep and they done tuned in
Yeah.
and they looking at me and you. They 10 years old, 11 or
Yeah.
12 years old. And mom and daddy just had the party, on Friday night. And they done woke up and they finding and when they wake up, okay. And they wake up and they find these glasses sitting around with little corners of beer and wine and liquor in it. And the
Oh.
child look at that. It's curiosity. The
Mm-hmm.
curiosity is there. I mean, what can I say to this child that's looking? He done tuned in to Recovery Live Global and he
Mm-hmm.
looking at them wine bottles and beer bottles sitting around. I mean, what can I say to this young girl? What can I say to this young kid? I know you out there, and I know you looking. I'm saying, be careful. Just be careful. Don't do it. It's it can impair you, and it can also you could become addicted by just trying it. I mean, to start off with a experiment, and then it moved to recreational, and then it moved from
Mm-hmm.
recreation to abuse, and then it moved from abuse to dependency, and from dependency to chronicity, and then the effects of it can cause you to make bad decisions, and now you over here with Miss Hardaway,
Uh-oh.
and she talking to you about trying to love on you even though you have now made the mistakes and you're suffering the consequences for the mistakes, and now you got people that's got to talk with you and relate to you to get you back on track. The thing is, don't get off track
Yeah.
if you can help it. Just pay attention, listen up. It's not good for you. It's not good for you.
I definitely agree with all of that. I think a big thing for our youth to understand and know right now is that knowledge is so powerful. Ask questions. Ask questions, as many questions as possible. We actually expect it from you as a child for you to ask questions. Find you a person, and you don't you. It's okay to look outside of your family. It could be a teacher. It could be somebody in the church. It could be an aunt, or it could be maybe even a friend's mom, where you want to ask questions. Somebody that you feel is a safe space for you to talk and ask those questions to, because I think we go so far left because we just don't know how
Okay.
far we're going.
Okay.
And if we pause and stop and actually ask questions, we might decide, like, I should turn around.
Yeah.
I should turn around. There's a saying that says, curiosity killed the cat, right?
Hmm.
And I think it's good to have a healthy level of curiosity, but you should always have a system or some people like in your community that can help you along the way. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay to ask questions, because I think a lot of time, particularly in our community, we as our children are told to, like, be quiet, be a kid, but it's kind of time out for that. Like, they need to know. They need to get into a space where they can get this information from a trusted source, where it's credible and where they have their best interests in mind. Like, the experimenting thing, you don't gotta do that. Ask a
Yeah.
question. My
Hmm.
daughter knows very well. She can ask me any kind of question. I'm gonna tell her just the real raw, and I'm gonna try to make it as kid friendly as possible. But sometimes you don't need that version of it, because then that might be too gentle. So I like to share as transparently so that you know the effects, the real true dangers of what certain things are in this life. And I think that applies to us as adults too. I think we can definitely make the change can start by us with us educating ourselves on different things. I think we do such a disservice to the community when we just go talking about stuff we don't know. Like just the whole, I hate to say this term, but the fake news, just giving out information that you don't know about or just saying things out of our ignorance. And now that narrative is just pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and people got emotions based on something that's false. And then where we go from there? Once you get emotions involved, it's really bad, right? So I think that from young to old, we need to be asking questions. We need to educate ourselves so that as we are making decisions, we're making informed decisions. We're making good, credible, informed decisions. And I think that will have such a major impact on this world. Like, such a major impact.
Yeah, I like that too. Research, you know,
Yes.
and also evidence base.
Yes, I'm about to say, and not Wikipedia, now, like credible sources,
Yes,
like
yes.
not TMZ, like credible sources.
Yeah. It's evidence base is out there. I at one time I didn't want to go along with some of the evidence based information that was out there because I figured I knew and I know and I know, but really, I only know in part.
Yeah.
I only know what I know,
Yeah.
and there's researchers out there that have actually took what I know and what they know and what he know and she know and put it all together and came up with an evidence based principle or practice and found out that the evidence based principle and practice will net a whole lot more positive change
Yeah.
as we move forward in that. So yeah, it's a lot of information out there. And then I like when you talked about the spirituality piece of it, when you talked about you was in school and you was looking at ministerial studies and you wanted to learn a whole lot more about the Bible and situation like that. And I think that the Bible is good to know, but it's also a good place to practice the principles of the Bible and the scriptures. And so that what you know about the scriptures won't just be theory, but it'll be theory and practice. When I taught cosmetology, I used to teach people how to put crokinole curls. Well, they don't call them crokinole no more. They call them spiral curls and whatever they call it them today. Every 10 years,
Something
the
new.
curl change. To a different
Wine curls.
language.
That's what we doing now. Wine curls.
What they call it?
Wine curls.
Wine?
Yeah, you gotta get the wine curls.
Okay, well, I got it. Well, hey, it took another level. But I used to teach them how to put the wine curls in the hair. But after they go to lunch, I would tell them to put the books up and bring your mannequins out and your mannequins, your curls, and everything, and let's actually put a wine curl in the hair. And nobody in my class, I had 21 students in the class, nobody could put the curl in. I mean, they could tell me verbally how to do it, but they couldn't actually do it. And so I found out that you have to teach theory and practical.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with what we're talking about. We have to model the way and teach theory and practice as it relate to information and learning in the world and going places and doing things. So I believe in a practical part of preaching and teaching as well as a theory part of preaching and teaching. So we need them both. I was doing some exercises the other week, and I was asking them how do you show somebody how to do this rather than tell somebody how to do it. And I found out that the ear in the brain and the eye in the brain, they say you remember 15% of what you hear and 35% of what you see. So a
Okay.
picture is louder, a picture speak louder than words. And so in order to gravitate and accept and understand some of the things that we're learning, a picture is it's just you just can't beat a picture.
I got you.
And I think that picture was something else because I remember God used the prophets to tell forth the word. And then God decided to send his only begotten son, which was a picture of God. Because he said, when you see me, you see the Father. So that picture spoke volumes than what a word would say. And this is the same thing today with learning. A picture is just 1,000 words. And so even today, if we was on radio talking is one thing, but to be actually looking into the camera talking is a whole lot better, because we're not only are they hearing us, which is 15%, but they seeing us, which
Yeah.
is 35%. And so we're just like I said, our goal is to educate, inspire, and inform the community about positive things that we need to know about change. I mean, and I believe in speaking to the young people. Believe in speaking to seniors, and I believe in speaking to every age bracket out there. And our show have taken on so many different individuals that can come on the show and talk positive. Till I'm not limited on who comes to the show. And so I am so happy to have Miss Hardaway
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This
on
is
the show
cool.
and just talking about the name of the show is Recovery Live Global. But recovery is not just alcohol and drugs, because just because you're abstinent from alcohol and any mood altering chemical don't mean you're in recovery. Recovery is a mindset and it's a lifestyle change,
That's good.
and everybody need to have a little recovery in their life.
That's true.
Yeah, everybody need a little bit. So when you think about it, man, I'm glad to be here. This is another segment of Recovery Live Global. Uh, I'm your host, Jesse Washington, for those who tuning in a little bit later. And I have with me today Miss Ciera Hardaway. What you like to lead them with? I mean, is it anything you like to leave our listening audience with as you think about it today?
Put me on the spot. Um, you can follow me on social platforms.
Okay.
We can do that. I share kind of like informational tips that's there as well. I'm looking to expand my in-office location to the downtown Detroit area, so I'm really excited about that. So we'll hopefully be able to reach more people who want to actually come into the office. I know virtual is a very viable option, but some people really like to just sit down on that couch.
Okay.
Like sitting down on that couch, something about that couch. I have so many people that say like, I don't know what's wrong with this couch. I'm like, I think it's the right thing. Like I'm just sitting here and you're crying. So maybe it's God is in that couch or something. I don't know. But if I could just leave people with anything, I just would say that, be okay with not being okay and taking a chance, pushing past whatever that fear. There's an acronym for fear. It says false evidence appearing real. I think sometimes fear paralyzes us. So if you're in recovery or if you're just in a bad situation relationally or just not feeling like good as yourself, like that fear will stop us. The fear of the unknown, the fear of failing, the fear of whatever insert that you might be having. But fear is false evidence appearing real. So it's okay to push past those fears and that boundary. Failure is a part of the process. It's only a failure if you never try at that point. So I just will encourage people to keep pushing, being okay with not being okay so that you can tell somebody else. Because once we have that shame about it, that keeps you stuck. And that's such a trick of the enemy. Get you to feel some shame about something, you'll be stuck there forever. But if you're okay with not being okay, you'll look for resources. You'll look for people. You'll share some information, and you'll be able to push beyond that. So I just would encourage everybody, like those feelings of like not feeling like yourself or not feeling good, those are indicators from God that you need to go ahead and do something. It's like the check engine light.
Yeah.
It's like the check engine light.
Okay.
It doesn't tell you specifically, like, this is what's wrong. You got to go get a diagnostic.
Okay.
Right? So your check engine light can go off for your engine about to blow or something small like your gas cap is open.
Okay.
One of them is really bad. One of
Okay.
them is not so bad. But why take a chance?
Yes.
Go
Yes.
figure it out, all right? Because if you riding in the car thinking, oh, it's just the gas cap, and it's really the engine knocking, you in
Okay.
trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your feelings are God's check engine light for you. So go ahead and check in with those feelings. Get a diagnosis. So reach out to somebody. people like myself and Mr. Washington that's available that can assist in its process. Psychology Today is a very good, viable resource to find people who are like-minded, like you, people who look like you, whatever you look like. On Psychology Today, they have people who look like you, people who you feel like can relate to you. Reach out to somebody. We were never meant to go through life alone. That's why God built all of this for us. Community is where we thrive. So just be okay to not be okay so that you can reach out to people and push past that fear.
Yeah, you said a word called shame.
Yeah.
You know, shame say I am. Guilt say I did.
Oh, yeah.
You see the difference? We have to move from the shame because you're not what you did. It's easier to heal from something you did than who I am. And so I like that. I'm gonna have to do a segment on guilt and shame.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe have to get you back.
That's a powerful one. That's a powerful one. You get over that guilt and shame, man. It's freedom.
Yeah, I may have to get you to come back and deal with that guilt.
Yeah, there's freedom on the other side of that.
People need to hear about it. People really need to hear about it. So I just, man, it's been a good show. A lot of information was assimilated and put out here, and I like to just say to the listening audience, tune in. If you would like to give to the broadcast, at the end of the show, you will see a scroll down on the way that you can do that. I like to also say that on June the 11th, we'll be having a outreach, community outreach event on June the 11th. It's going to take place at the Four Angels Garden in the city of Detroit, and we'll be there from 1 to 4. We're going to have some singing, some rapping, some dancing.
Nice.
We're going to have a bounce house. And
nice.
We're going to have a clothes giveaway, a phone giveaway, food stamps giveaway. I mean, we're going to be in the community, providing for the community things that they would really, really need. And we also going to have a message from a young preacher, Brother Malcolm Griswold. He's going to be sharing the word. And so we want to do something out in the community. It's one thing to do things inside of the walls of different places, but it's another thing to take the walls off and go right into the heart of the community and take them the same resources that we're talking about on the show. We'll be taking resources out to the community. So if you would like to, you can, you'll see my number as we scroll forward. And if you would like to do a, what they call that, vendor table for information, a vendor table that you might want to market some things that you might have, we're going to have a nice event. So I'm plugging our community outreach event, June the 11th on today's show. So if you're in the city and you would like to be a part of it, give us a call and then come out and support us. We're trying to make a difference not only in the walls but out in the community. Yeah. God has been good to us, and we want to let you know. Yes. We want to let you know. So we're looking forward to that event. And I just want to take a minute to thank Miss Ciera Hardaway for coming on the show today and sharing with me. This is the first time I've seen you, not virtual.
I know, right? In person. This is the first time. You're real.
Yeah. I've been virtual. We've been virtual. It's the first time I had a chance to see you, right here.
Right.
We can bump elbows
right.
and get some work done. So I just thank you. This has been another segment of Recovery Live Global. Stay tuned. Much more to come.
Yeah.
Much more to come. So God has been good, and I'll see you on the next Recovery Live Global show.
Have a good one. Amen.
Stepping on the instant.